Sathya Sai Speaks, Volume 9, Chapter 22, Sign and Symptom of Glory. Man has to journey over the road that lies over pleasure and pain, grief and joy. The journey can be smooth only when he resorts to wisdom, devotion and attachment as his equipment for the travail of travel. These are available to him in large measure, provided he will listen to the experience of elders, as written in scriptures or as related personally all around him. He can also get acquainted with them, if only he sits down quietly for a while and watches the flow of events and the passage of the caravan of life. The child rolls unconcerned in urine and feces because he is unaware of the dirt and the disgust. But as it grows in experience and wisdom, it learns that it is shameful and dangerous to grovel in dirt. Similarly, man in his ignorance rolls in sensory absurdities. He has then some excuse for not knowing better. Later, however, if he does not learn by experience and keep away from the nauseating habits and pursuits that demean his intelligence and powers of discrimination, he becomes the target of ridicule. He is a danger to himself and others. The noun collects many adjectives. The innocent individual gets many attributes attached to it that deface its purity. The doctor is incapable of diagnosing the illness. He can judge only the equilibrium between three body humors of Vat, Pith and Kapha, wind, bile and phlegm. Only the divine doctor, Vaidyo Narayano Hari, the expert in the inner sheaths of the individual, the Vijnanamaya Kosha, the Anandamaya Kosha, wisdom and bliss, can distinguish between the gunas, qualities, and their influences on character and activity. Merit is when you do good to another. Enthusiasm to progress in the spiritual field and earn mental peace thereby is on the increase in recent years. This is another evidence of the grace that the Avatar, Divine Incarnation, sheds. There is enormous interest, not only in India but all over the world, in the methods adopted by the rishis, sages, of this land to acquire Shanti, peace, through prema, love, and through yoga, dharma, and satya, communion with God, virtue and truth. 10 or 15 years ago, attendance at discourses on religious subjects was very sparse. Only a handful of old men and women. But now we see thousands and lakhs coming from long distances and sitting through long hours, eager and expectant, and a large majority are youth. Youth is eager to share the heritage of the past, so that they may build a better future for themselves. The word Hindu means those who keep away from the path of violence, away from inflicting injury on others. Hin means hinsa, injury, violence. Dhu means dura, away, distant. The Shastras declare that the essence of all the 18 Puranas, so highly revered in India, is merit. Merit is when you do good to others. Sin is when you do evil to others. When you are fixed on this path, you will welcome all faiths and religions. As kith and kin, all faiths attempt to train man along this path. Muslim, Christians, Buddhists, Jewish, Parsis, all aspire to win the same illumination through the cleansing of the mind and by means of good works. The seeds of all these are in the Sanatana Dharma of the Vedanta, concluding philosophical portion of sacred scriptures. Just as the Congress has a number of splinter parties, like the SSP, PSP, and even the Communist Party, so too other faiths are but the left, right, or center of the Sanatana Dharma of India. That Dharma examines all possible approaches to the divine and arranges them in the order in which they can be utilized by the aspirant, according to the level of equipment and attainment. When a tree first shoots forth from the seed, it comes up with a stem and two incipient leaves. But later, when it grows, the trunk is one and the branches are many. Each branch may be thick enough to be called a trunk, but one should not forget that the roots send food as sap through one single trunk. God, the same God, feeds the spiritual hunger of all nations and all faiths through the common sustenance of truth, virtue, humility, and sacrifice. Vedic Dharma is the grandfather of all religions. Last May, when I was in Bombay for the annual day of the Dharma Kshetra, we had a gathering of intellectuals at K.M. Munshi's place. When a number of vice-chancellors, doctors, advocates, and professors were eager to meet me, the meeting turned out to be a question and answer session for about 6 hours. One question was about this: the different faiths that drag men into divergent paths. I told them, no one knows exactly when the Vedas were collated in their present form. Bala Gangadhar Tilak surmised that it must have happened about 13,000 years ago. Others bring the date down to 6,000 years ago, but all are agreed that it was beyond at least 4,000 years. And Buddha is a historical figure who lived about 2,500 years ago. Christ was born 1,969 years ago, and Islam was formed 600 years later. So chronologically as well as logically, the inference is correct that the Vedic Dharma is the grandfather, Buddhism is the son, Christianity the grandson, and Islam the great-grandson. If there is any misunderstanding between them, it is but a family affair, the ancestral property of which all our co-sharers is the same. Another question was about the atom bombs, and whether India should not endeavor to acquire the same. I replied that it is no shame that we have not made one. It is a source of pride that we have not made one. We do not need one to get a sense of security. The 5 Pandava brothers were led by the eldest of them, aptly named Dharmaraja, the upholder of right. His brother, Bhima, was the mightiest warrior of those days. He used to wield a mace which shook the earth when it was planted by him on the ground. He wrestled with the gigantic Kichaka and slew him. He was unexcelled in intellectual and physical strength. Another brother, Arjuna, was the master bowman of the age, armed with some of the most potent arrows that the gods themselves had bestowed upon him in appreciation of his valor and his faith. But these 2 brothers acted as if they were but the limbs of the eldest brother. They never deviated from the path of righteousness laid down by Dharmaraja. Let service be the slogan for this nation. I told that gathering that so long as India stuck to the path of Dharma, righteousness, Russia, which is the Bhima of the day, and America, the Arjuna of the day, will revere this land and learn from it the means of securing mental peace and security. For their present power and pride are the manifestations of an indwelling fear, an unalloyed agony eating the vitals. The Pandavas were therefore blessed by the Lord to come through all the travail that assailed them. The Pandavas were so righteous that when they found their enemies, the Kauravas, kidnapped by the Gandharva tribe, they rushed to rescue them, for they know that there was no other way of getting them released from their fell hands. That is the role that you too should play, service. Let that be the slogan of this nation. Service, not for those who have many to serve them, and the wherewithal to help themselves, but for the distressed in the hospitals who have no one to nurse them, nourish them, or give them a smile or a flower, or write a letter home for them. Giving and sharing doubles the joy. One day, when a number of sages met, they had a discussion on the code of conduct for women. There were some women present. They desired to know the duties of the housewife. The women said that they felt the most joy when they gave away rather than when they received or accumulated. The happiest moments of motherhood were when a mother fed her baby, which she considered a part of her own essential self, allowing the child to receive nourishment and her own vitality through its lips. Another woman said that she felt more joy when she served the dishes that she cooked to others, her husband, her children, the guests, rather than when she partook of them herself. It is in giving that the joy lies, not in receiving. No one can enjoy eating, even the richest meal, alone. Sharing doubles the joy. I want to tell you that the Ananda, bliss, you derive from service is something you can never get through any other activity. The thrill that a kind word, a small gift, a good gesture, a sign of sympathy, a sign of compassion can bring about on a distressed heart is something that is beyond words to describe. The Vedas teach man that all are kin, that all are divine. They emphasize that God is love. It is to preserve this valuable heritage, to propagate it and save the world from the waves of hatred and violence that are overwhelming it, that the All India Prashanti Vidwan Mahasabha, the great assembly of scholars, has been formed. It will instill reverence for the ancient temples of this land, wherefrom spiritual vibrations spread over the entire community. They were museums of art, promoters of poetry, schools of Vedic studies, integrators of caste and instruments of moral upliftment. The Sabha will endeavor to foster these activities and encourage other kindred organizations having the ideal of fostering the universal values of religion. Today, man is denying himself the boon of peace. By peace, Western countries mean the interval between two wars, when vigorous efforts are made to avenge the insult of defeat and consolidate the spoils of victory and prepare for the next round. That is no peace. When man thinks good and speaks good and does good, Shanti, peace will ensure. But he now speaks good, though he thinks evil and proposes to do evil. He ignores the principle of immortality that is his core, the principle of love that is the lifeblood of the human community. He denies himself the boon of peace and rushes toward destruction. Destroying others, he destroys himself. It is only in the contemplation of the beauty, majesty, and omnipresence of God that one can be at peace. This hour, when you have been sitting so tightly packed before me here, you have had no other thoughts than these, I am sure. Make your heart a Prashanti Nilayam, abode of supreme peace, by the recollection of God's glory, and of you being a sign and symptom of that glory. The minister was saying that he wishes to do something for the Nilayam. He said that he would personally approach his colleagues in the ministry and see that the road to this place is improved soon. The body craves the comfort of a macadamized or tarred road, but the heart prefers the road of purity and humility, so that it may reach the goal of mergence with God. I am more interested in that road. I am not enthusiastic about the tarred road, for that would make the journey to this place easier. And so even the little discipline of slow, careful driving that is now imposed upon the people coming here will disappear. Learn to bear with some little difficulty while coming here. Life is not all smooth riding. It is a series of ups and downs. Bharat has taught and practiced the art of smooth travel for centuries. Learn that art and be at peace. Prashanti Nilayam, October 14th, 1969. Being in the company of the holy is like the bit and bridle for the wanton seed, the anicut and canal for the raging flood. The value of holy places consists in just this. Kindred spirits congregate there and contribute to the deepening of spiritual yearning. You can take sweet and sustaining counsel together in such places and strengthen your faith and devotion. Sri Sathya Sai Baba.